So today what we're going to talk about is something that a lot of demolition derby drivers come across, and even guys that buy used cars, sometimes they have problems. And what is going to cause a lot of these problems is this. Now, if you guys don't know what this is a demobilization unit. So it can turn your car off. It's a remote car starter. It's lock and unlock your doors. And realistically, they're just a giant pain. So I'm going to show you guys how to get rid of this thing. So the number one thing is disconnect your battery. The number two thing is you have to disconnect all the wires and see how this thing is fed into the harness. If you take a look, they actually cut into the harness, and sometimes they actually splice wires that are needed to make the car run. So let's do some digging here and see where these wires attach. We're going to remove the fuse panel and pull it down a little bit out of the way so we can see better where they've integrated this system into the car wiring system. Now, we do have some toggle switches down here. Not really sure what that does. We have a push button over here. Again, not really sure what that does, but all I know is that this system is going to end up screwing us in the demolition derby ring. So let's get everything kind of decluttered here and find out what we're dealing with and how far it goes into the system. So what we have here is really not that bad a system. But as you can see, they've bared some wires in the harness and then soldered their wires to those wires. So this is why I really don't like these systems. When you start hacking and cutting into the factory harness to make the cars run when they shouldn't run, then it's really not that good. Now, I was able to just quickly disconnect. We have a positive that goes to the back side here for constant power. This one here, we have a negative that comes up to the bottom of the steering wheel as a negative source. And then he's tapped into all the main constant powers right here at the steering wheel. Now what this does is it takes power where it goes into the steering wheel and then runs it back to the box, and when it gets its relay signal, then it sends power back out, which can start the car by giving the computer its power on, I guess. And then this right here is the starter relay, so that's why they've tapped into that. And then they have a couple other things for immobilization where it goes right out to the coil packs. I do not like these systems at all. So the best way to really do it is make sure that they haven't cut any wires. But as you can see, all they've done here is they've spliced into them. So they haven't cut the wires completely. They've just spliced into them. So without this system, this car will still run because the power will still go through the wires. But if they cut a wire and then brought it to the box and then from the box back, you'd have to reattach that wire. But luckily for this system, this is just a splice-in system. This is not a hard-wired-in system. So we are able to fully cut this system out with very, very little ease. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try to cut these back as tight as we can. Just like this. Make sure your battery's disconnected. This one here, we're going to cut right up in here. Just like this. Now this is the main power supply for this unit. So make sure you cut it as tight as you can. And then to throw some electrical tape over top of them is not really a bad idea. So if you want to throw a little bit more electrical over top of it, go for it. It's not going to hurt it. It's just going to make the situation a little bit better than what it is now. So there you go with those. Oh, I forgot the green wire. Starter relay wire. There you go. Now this one here is going to require a lot of electrical tape, that's for sure. So we just pull this box right out now, and the problem is pretty much dealt with. I just got this one white wire back here. Just gotta figure out where she goes. Again, they just spliced it in back here. So just make sure you cut it out as tight as you can. And this car will still run now, and now the security system is out of it. That's your OBD2 plug-in, so don't even worry about that. But I'm not a big fan of these aftermarket security systems that people put inside these cars. So let that be a lesson to you guys. These systems are quite easy to get out. Sometimes they're a pain in the ass, But this one here was not a bad one. The ones that are really bad is, pretend this wire here was cut, and then they hardwired from this side to the box, and then from the box they wired back to this side. So as soon as you cut that box out, this car would no longer run. But because they didn't do that for this car, they just spliced in, it is okay. It is when they actually hardwire and break the wire's physical connection to itself that it's hard to deal with. This one here is not a bad system to get out of the car. There is other systems that are a lot more complicated, and I'm pretty sure my other car has got the other more complicated system. So this is it for this video, and maybe on the next car, when I start digging into it, if I see that the wires are cut and ran to the box and back, I'll show you guys how to fix that as well. But thanks for watching Zach's Workshop, and just don't be scared to slowly cut out your factory, well, aftermarket remote start and car alarm system, because they're not that good and they end up causing a lot of problems inside the demolition derby ring. And problems in the ring, if they're easily avoidable, you might as well make them easily avoidable. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow.